Our chief correspondent, Kaveh Solokot, joins me to talk more about this. So tell us what's happened in FIFA today. Are there splits in the camp, do you think?
I think they're more than splits.
OK.
What we've been talking about over the last few days is the fact that Gianni Infantino is losing support from football federations all around the world. He's also been losing support from within FIFA itself. And what's significant today is that two very high-profile people have come out in public and basically put a lot of distance between themselves and Gianni Infantino. And I think this possibly could mean that it's game over for Infantino. The first person who's come out in public and said, I want nothing to do with what Gianni's been up to behind closed doors, is Arsene Wenger. Now, everybody knows Arsene Wenger, one of the greatest managers of all time. For the past few years, he's been working at FIFA, and people assume that he's been working pretty closely with Gianni Infantino. But I know Arsene Wenger, he hasn't been involved in politics. What he's been involved in really has been developing football, refereeing, those kind of things.
Yeah.
He's all about developing the global game. And he's been taking a little bit of flack over the past few days. Some articles have started appearing saying, look, he's tainted by association because he's been working closely with Gianni Infantino, whether he likes it or not. He's allied himself to Infantino. Now, he's come out today and he's issued a statement. And interestingly, even though the statement was critical of FIFA's policies, Infantino's policies, the statement was issued through FIFA. And as you can say, he makes it clear, I wasn't involved in this plan. I first became aware of it through the media. The decision to withdraw the project was absolutely necessary and beyond question. I firmly believe in an independent FIFA that serves our game with commitment, transparency and integrity. So, reading between the lines, he is going as far as he can to basically say, I don't really believe in Gianni Infantino anymore, and what he's been up to, nothing to do with me. The second really important development today, first reported by Rob Harris at Sky News, he got hold of an email that was sent by the FIFA Secretary General, Matthijs Grafström. Now, this email was sent to people who work at FIFA, and he said, first of all, thank you for all the hard work you do. You helped us stage an extraordinary World Cup, but a sad and reproachful series of events, which were thankfully concluded with the plan being permanently abandoned, has made us feel dismayed, but they shouldn't overshadow the reality. And the reality is the great work that a lot of people who work at FIFA did in staging that World Cup. He also said, we've been thrown into the middle of a turmoil. It's difficult to comprehend and accept. But as Secretary General, I urge you to remain focused on what has always united us, which is basically to serve football in compliance with FIFA statutes and FIFA regulations. Now, even though Grafström is such a key figure at FIFA, I would compare it to, in a company, Infantino is the chairman and Grafström is the chief executive.
OK.
So he's in charge of running operations day to day. Now, there are reports that even he didn't know about Infantino's secret plan. And
who did know?
Well, Infantino and his couple of his mates, people close to him, a few people part of President Trump's administration, his family, those kind of people.
Okay.
So I think Grafström himself is basically putting a lot of distance between himself and Gianni Infantino, which comes back to what I said at the start of my long reply, that it could be game over for Gianni Infantino, because once you start losing the support of the people you work with day to day, then it doesn't matter what football federations around the world think, you really can't carry on if you can't even walk into your own office and look people in the eye.
It's fascinating, because when we were talking about this last week, we were talking about the fact that will he back down, because we know what Gianni Infantino's like. He kind of goes ahead with the ideas that he has. Didn't sound like he got backing of anyone in the room, and who was in the room when this happened, to quote Hamilton. Clearly not the important people. So we're talking about whether he survives. What does he do, though, if he doesn't? I mean, it feels to me like he will continue, because does somebody have to challenge him in order to get him out?
Can he survive? I think in the early stages of this massive scandal, he may have been able to survive if he'd come out and apologised. If he'd said, I'm sorry, it was a terrible miscalculation, an error of judgment, we all make mistakes, I'm now going to go and apologise to the people I need to face and try and make it up to them. Maybe then there was a way out of this crisis. But the longer this goes on, the more his position becomes desperate, both inside and outside FIFA. I think people close to him will now be saying to him, look, it's better to resign rather than be forced out in disgrace, because there are quite a few things that can be done to force you out. We can have a FIFA Council meeting, vote of no confidence. We could have an emergency FIFA Congress, vote of no confidence. Or we could wait until next March and the challenger will beat you. I think he's being told, read the room, Gianni, do the right thing, pack your bags, write a letter, do an interview with FIFA in-house media, and then go and have a holiday. And, you know, it won't be the end of Gianni Infantino, because I'm sure there'll be lots of other business opportunities for him. Perhaps somewhere in the United States, or perhaps somewhere, for instance, in Saudi Arabia.
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it? You were talking about the United States. He does have a very influential friend, doesn't he, that goes by the name of Mr. President Donald Trump. There was talk, wasn't there, that Infantino was trying to call him to ask for his help. Have FIFA denied this? Or
this is really interesting, the kind of things that FIFA are responding to at the moment, because they're not responding to a lot of things. They just don't want to engage. They have basically sort of metaphorically buried their heads in the sand and are hoping that this goes away. But one of the few things they have responded to is these reports that emerged yesterday, first in the New York Post, and then, as you can see, picked up by the Times and Sunday Times, that Gianni Infantino has been trying to call President Trump since Friday to try and get some help from Trump. And basically, according to the report in the New York Post, Trump's not returning his calls. Now, this has been picked up by the Times, and obviously it has annoyed Gianni Infantino. And obviously he has instructed somebody or a few people in FIFA's media office to respond to this directly. And that is why FIFA's official X media account responded to that report in the Times by saying that this is absolutely not true. It is pure fiction. Gianni hasn't been trying to get hold of President Trump since Friday, and President Trump has not been ignoring Gianni Infantino. So it's interesting that in the middle of this whole massive crisis, what Gianni Infantino is really sensitive about, and he seems to be very, very sensitive about the fact that anyone might be suggesting that him and President Trump are not still best buddies.
Just finally, Calvi, and briefly, because I'm not really supposed to ask you another question, but I mean, FIFA is in absolute crisis at the moment. How long can this go on for?
I think days. I think realistically, Gianni Infantino can cling on to power. He doesn't have to resign. From his point of view, if he resigns now, he resigns in disgrace. Perhaps he doesn't want to resign in disgrace. So perhaps he thinks, I don't care. Even if people are not looking at me in the office, you know, even if no one's going to sit down and have lunch with me, or no one will talk to me when I go to the water cooler, I'm going to carry on, because the other option is to resign in disgrace. I can't do that. But even if he does that, then in a matter of days or weeks, we could have an emergency FIFA Council meeting, or we could have an emergency FIFA Congress. And then he will probably lose, although he may think that he still has votes in places like South America, Africa and Asia.
Well, it'd be fascinating to see whether he does. Thank you, Calvi.